In the right hands, nothing is the most devastating weapon that there is. We've got the spell is cast, let go. And we are on the reward stage of our anti-hero's journey now. So we're coming off the ordeal stage and going from that Leo to Cancer archetype. We're also shifting from solar to lunar energy. So that big, bold, audacious, headed into battle, bursting through the door, kind of pulling back now. And this would be like the pause after a false summit with our antagonist. And now we're getting exactly what we need to fully overcome. And what I'm gathering from this is it could be a faith practice. Any sort of something that bolsters belief, either in a higher power or in self. Something that keeps you going to the next stage to overcome insurmountable odds. It's reminding me of like Willow from Buffy, really any witch. This would be like the moment that her eyes go pitch black. Something like that. You know, everything in the room starts to lift off, and then we realize she is the reward. She is what we needed to overcome. In this case, the mentor. So let's see, let's get a rune and see what, maybe a little more detail on the reward in this stage. And I got the 10th house, Neptune, and Aquarius on the dice roll. And I thought that was pretty fitting with that shift from solar to lunar energy. The moon card, more secretive, illusions, maybe her witchhood, her witchdom, needs to remain hidden in this stage. So we'll see. The star. Interesting. A lot of cosmic energy, because that's all outer planet stuff. And then the star be right after the tower card. Maybe there's some cosmic witchery afoot. I mean, I did get all my moon decks out, you know, for Cancer, moon being the ruler. And my cat is sniffing around. I did get a free little scented candle with my new little tea light holder. It's a little cat, like, warming their paws. I think it's rose scented. She's just sniffing around. She doesn't usually do that. Maybe the neighbors are making something good. Surrender to the divine. Full moon. And there's a full moon soon. And an eclipse, like at the end of the week. Interesting, some emphasis on that. So maybe there's something important about that. I think there is emphasis on the mutable signs with this eclipse. It's a lunar eclipse in Pisces. And the last one for the foreseeable future, I believe, next like 20-ish years. And I was born near a lunar eclipse in Pisces. So I wonder, anything exciting for me? Maybe. We'll see. So what about surrender to the divine? Because that's very witchy. The star, the moon, those would be the more personal, accessible energies. Because like Uranus, Aquarius, Neptune, a little further out. Six of Cups. The soulmate card. And Scorpio, Sun in Scorpio. So maybe that connection with oneself Because a soulmate doesn't necessarily have to be without of oneself. We can be our own soulmate. It can be aligning with our path, that soulmate card. Aligning with something maybe from childhood. I feel like that's very common in the witchy world, is finding the path, straying from the path, and then getting back on the path later in life. A lot of persecution, religious trauma, finding out the performative support in your social circle, because it's kind of like there will be people that seem accepting of witches, witchery, so on and so forth, until it becomes real. Like when it's something in a souvenir shop or going to any sort of spooky town, anything like that, like Salem, something like that, that's all fine, that's all dandy. But an actual practice, then people get a little weird about it, even if you're not proselytizing them. Just the fact that you're doing it, like, oh, maybe you're not as accepting as you said you were. The Fool in reverse. El Loco? The Crazy? I think more referencing that false start of maybe trying to get on your path earlier in life, and then life happened, and now we're actually getting on it. Maybe you had to get, right as that clock chimes, you had to get to a more independent place in life, especially if you had a difficult childhood home, because this could also apply to LGBT as well. Very similar. A lot of mirroring storylines in that, like not being accepted for who you are. And to the point where some families will kick you out for it. Meanwhile, going to church, taking things from various pantheons, and then saying that's fine. Why? Because it's under the roof of a church? I don't know. That whole taking attendance thing has always bothered me. That feels like it's for humans, not for the divine. And we've got King of Cups. This is my Spanish deck. Neptune and Pisces. So some Neptune. And then Uranus. More Aquarius emphasis. So now all we need is a Saturn card for the 10th house. But in reverse. So somebody that's supposed to be nurturing. Somebody that is supposed to kind of care for the kingdom of emotions. This would be like kind of getting authoritarian parental figure from that. Looks like it's mentioning alcohol and substances in reverse in the little blurb. Maybe fraud? See, I can sort of read Spanish eventually. I'm very rusty, though. And that's also something that, like, I was much better at that when I was younger. And I was also spending a lot of time around friends and such who were from Chihuahua. So I had an opportunity to practice, something I don't have at the moment. But I don't know, both have been kind of exploring astrocartography, and both my Venus lines, how I'm reading how that came out, are over Spanish-speaking countries. So, I don't know, maybe an immersive experience is in the cards for me that might be exactly what I need to do to learn a language. So maybe there's something in this reward stage, something you are, something you possess, knowledge that's getting you through. What is the next stage after this? The road back. So returning to or finding a new ordinary world. Eventually, there's still 3 more stages. So what's the knowledge that we either need or are gaining through the reward stage? Because this could be multifaceted. That the star offers the healing to wake up that whatever unique quality in the self that you may have had to put down earlier in life. And then once you've gotten comfortable in that part of your identity again, then you can learn something new within that, about that. So what is this? And knowledge in the witching world can become very elitist very fast. I do not use terms like baby witch, because I don't do hierarchies. You never know how much somebody actually knows, and shutting them down by using little like terminology like that, going, oh, you're lesser than me, you might not learn something from them that you don't know. And at the same time, it's also good to know how to identify a charlatan. I mentioned that in my Instagram post today. Moonwater. Reset. There's a funny meme that I see floating around. It's like Moonwater. When I first started, and it's all like the crystals and the tarot cards and the special glass and whatnot, the special container. And then it's like 5 years later, on a full moon, just winging a bottle of water out into a snowbank with a cigarette hanging off your lip. That's the advanced witchery. You dispense with the fluff, or not. If you like it, you like it. It's all good. It's not necessary for a successful practice. Like, I am very much a crow when it comes to my knickknacks and my tarot cards. I like to collect. But I'm not very ritualistic. I'm not a ceremonial witch. Very much a everyday witch. I don't even like using a subgenre. So what about Moonwater? Because it feels very like Pokemon card to me. Like, I am this type of witch. Cosmic witch. Hearth witch. Which, if it helps you understand your own practice, like, it's all good. You know, use the words you like to use. It's just, for me, like, witch is sufficient. Because the labels I find kind of limiting. That too. Full moon in Pisces. Balance spirituality and practicality. Okay, yeah, exactly what I was talking about. And new moon in Sagittarius. Luck is on your side. So that's a full lunar cycle it's describing there. 12 to 9. Made me think of the interesting ways people will describe time, like quarter till, 12 to 9. Something relational. This to that. What else about this? So moon water, and maybe that's a reminder to do some moon water, some eclipse water. This looks like waves. Yeah, this is the water one. Movement of emotions. It's making me think of somebody who is demanding about your knowledge, that kind of like authoritarian, like you must have the right qualifications. There are so many certifications out there in the spiritual community that are hogwash, malarkey, and a scam, just trying to get your money. Like I'm ordained through the Universal Life Church, and that was free. It was completely free. And that's a legal certification that if I wanted to officiate something, I could. If I wanted to start my own congregation, I could. The important part is that it's free. And I think that's a good distinction when you're trying to discern if somebody is a charlatan or legitimate. How much are they offering you for free? Because we have to make a living too, right? There are no temples for us to live in for lodging and such, and things are outrageously expensive. You'll see a lot of readers that have like memberships on their channels or Patreons because they have to make a living, but they're still offering a large swath of information, of readings, for free. And that's the approach that I like because I'm about accessibility. And not everybody has the coin to spend on a membership, even as affordable as they can be. It's balancing that spirituality and practicality. But luck is on our side. Luck be a lady. Oops. Hermit. Luck for learning. Luck for finding the right thing. Oh, and you can see the star well in that card too. Like the Kawaii cat tarot from the last one. The star is in the Hermit's lamp. Finding that light, finding the light within. So he's looking down. It's making me think of peripheral vision. And some things I feel like are easier to see in the periphery. I have vision stuff, so I don't know if this is true for everybody else, but like in the dark, I feel like I can see things better. Like I'll look out of the corner of my eye if I need to look at something in the dark. I feel like I can see it better. And living with PTSD, I'm just kind of constantly monitoring everything around me. So luck is on your side, and this Chiron in Virgo, The wounded healer. Illuminating the spiritual. Introspection, contemplation. Patience is a virtue. It's just reading the little blurb. These are plopping out. And the King of Wands. Sun in Aries. Interesting. Very juxtaposed. I think that's pretty true for Pisces and Sagittarius as well. Because Sagittarius, more of that muted fire. The Sage. And then the King of Wands. And passion. Finding what you're passionate about. That could be the luck. Maybe something about the rewards stage that allows you to revisit that passion from earlier in your life. I'm trying to think of, it's almost like getting put into a timeout by the universe, by your circumstances, and using that to your advantage to learn something. Think back to after things settled a bit, relatively speaking, during COVID, what were you doing with that time spent inside? Were you reading, playing video games? Sourdough was a big thing. Everybody was learning how to make sourdough. I'm a little more simple. Flour, yeast, salt, and water. That'll sort me out for bread. So what about this King of Wands? And that, is it Rey de Bastos? Which, could I have said that more whitely? Something that I used to do when I was younger, because you watch the same movie like over and over and over and you got it memorized. Well, I would watch those movies in Spanish or Japanese trying to learn. That was pretty helpful. Lion King was one of them. And now we've got the Queen of Wands, but in reverse. Moon in Leo. So interesting. Very fiery still, but that shift from solar to lunar. This feels like a bad match, though. Like when you see a king and a queen come out together and one of them's reversed, it's like a mismatch. Like you would think they would be compatible, but they're not. It's like somebody faking being the right partner, mirroring, doing that manipulation technique to gain access to this person, to the king, to the queen, whomever. This could also be, because I do associate the Queen of Wands to witchcraft because of the cat. So someone who might not be open to a pairing, even though they're compatible or potentially very compatible, like on paper. But maybe you are anti-hero or witch, potentially, just aren't in that place. You need your hermit mode, your hermit chapter to sort out whatever you need to sort out in your mind, in your life, to let your nervous system kind of cool from some trauma. Because one of the most overwhelming symptoms of trauma is exhaustion, because you've been running at a higher gear than your peers for much longer than them. So when you finally get to crash, you crash so hard, and it can be detrimental. I think from the outside looking in, the word depression might be used, but that's not the right word for me. It's like full on nervous system collapse, because you've never had an opportunity to stop. And I don't know if there's a technical term for that, but it's like depression isn't the right term. And even if that is what you're dealing with, you need time to deal with that. That's not a great chapter in your life to be pairing off. This could even be a distraction too, because it is our anti-hero's journey. Somebody, your antagonist, a flying monkey from them trying to do something to interfere. Because if you don't achieve the reward, then how are you going to win? How are you going to win the battle? Because the example that I used in the last reading was Coraline, when she gets a little triangle thingy to identify the buttons. And so there were scuffles, if you will, prior to that, and then she gets a triangle thingy and she can actually overcome the other mother. So there's a false summit in this stage, and the hermit mode could be deeply intertwined in that. So maybe that is a stroke of luck that you weren't in a place to pair off with somebody when, I don't know, you caught somebody's eye, or they decided to try and manipulate you. So what, I'm interested in this pairing. What is this pairing about? Maybe the wave rune? Movement of emotion? A changing of feelings about someone? Solitary Witch. Heal yourself first. But it was in reverse. And I'm seeing 4 candles. That's making me think of 4 of Wands. That's a homecoming card. Returning to self. This is like somebody doesn't want you to return to self. Which, super weird, actually, if you think about that in practical terms. It's like you're trying to go through this hermit phase, this healing modality, and they don't want you to. What, because they want to, like, hook up with you or something? And maybe they know if and when you heal, they don't stand a chance. And I hate to break it to this person, but they probably didn't before that either. Because that's giving me a really gross vibe. Like somebody who would take advantage of you being in a weakened state. Like trying to white knight you. But I'm also getting kind of a... They feel justified. It's almost like they think they're saving you from themselves, from yourself, which is pretentious and weird. So what about the Solitary Witch? Because that's very... the witchy archetype. Independent, self-sufficient, learner, self-starter. think of how many women through history, namely like the witch trials and such, were labeled witches when really it was a land grab. The problem was that they were independent, that they were doing better than like the male business owners in town. Can't possibly have a woman doing better than a man. So outdated. As if there isn't enough to go around. And the reason that there isn't enough to go around are the men in charge. That I cannot understand. Actually, I can. It's a literacy crisis. Why this billionaire worship? Like, so they have this hoard of gold, right? That they're sitting on like a dragon, which currency is supposed to flow in the economy. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be a force, not a stagnant thing in a silo like grain. But they're sitting on all that gold. They're not paying their people not only not a living wage, but an incredibly prosperous wage, which they have the ability to do. And then they double dip into the government because they're welfare queens. So we have to subsidize their bad business acumen. And then they get celebrated. I think it comes down to the literacy crisis. Because here in the States, I think we're up to an alarming amount of adults that can't read past like a 4th grade level, or that can't comprehend past a 4th grade level. Because it's one thing to be able to read words on a page. It's another to be able to understand concepts and make inferences, critical thinking. And I'm seeing all these teachers in tears on Instagram and whatnot, that they've got seniors that can hardly spell their own name. It's so sad because they're being so underserved and still their tax dollars are being taken. Like the vicious cycle. Believe in the impossible. Blue moon. So someone doesn't want you to believe that this is surmountable. The reward is your belief in self. Because once you believe fully, wholeheartedly, there we go, earnestly, in yourself, unshakable, unmesswithable, that is something that no one can take from you. And in any good anti-hero's journey, they're going to try and stop you from achieving that, because then you become problematic. Is you will stand up to things that are wrong. 10th house, that's like structures, goals, experts, namely. That would be, like, say, back to this whole authoritarian vibe. Somebody that's very demanding, that, like that scene in Doctor Strange where he's like, okay, whatever, bachelor's degree, he's being a dick about it. That sort of attitude, when bachelor's degree knew perfectly well and better than him, or better than the authoritarian in this analogy, but they're being pretentious because you don't have the right letters behind your name. Like, the problem is that the information is coming out of your mouth, coming out of the mouth of a witch, God forbid. And if you're in an environment where you say the words, you say the information, and it gets blown off, but then somebody else, probably a man, says the exact same thing, and they get listened to, That's a toxic environment and you're being discriminated against. There's just no two ways around it. There will be a lot of excuses made. And that's how that kind of behavior hides. Is by, oh, well, I didn't quite understand it. Yeah, because you tune out women. That's why you don't understand. You don't bother cleaning out your ears when a woman is speaking to you. But a man gets respect and attention. The same thing that she should have got. And now it's a whole thing because she has to take that person to task. And now she's going to be the villain. Guilty until proven innocent. And that's something that our system proves over and over and over again. It's like, oh, say something, like see something, say something, blah, blah, blah. So that we can persecute you and burn you at the stake. So we can get rid of the problem. The harvest. But the harvest is on the other side. That's why it's so problematic. And the harvest is you. You are the harvest. You are the reward. It's the Carl Jung quote. The privilege of a lifetime is realizing one's true self. Paraphrasing, I can't quite remember. But it's something along those lines. And it actually put that quote in a playlist. I'll link it to the end of this video. I just made a new one. It's like War for Me, I think is what it was called. Oh. There we go. How many? 3? 4 of Swords in reverse. Knight of Wands and 2 of Pentacles in reverse. So lack of rest. Not wanting something to rest. Maybe not wanting you to rest or not wanting the situation, this stage to come to an end. Because this wraps up the climax of the anti-hero's journey. Defeat the antagonist. Being the Knight of Wands. That is a card of action. Like, if you are going onto the battlefield, you want to be in either Knight of Wands or Knight of Swords are both very effective energies to be in. It's like letting yourself kind of marinate and cook in lunar energy and then bursting forth with that solar energy. Where is that clock chimes? Because something's out of balance. Like just what I was ranting about. That those environments are so detrimental to the human spirit. Because you can tell from where you're sitting, the problem is they don't accept something about you. It's not what you're saying, it's not your skills, it's not your knowledge. It's because they're a bigoted piece of ish. And you have to put on the brave face. It's like I'm thinking about like a work example. You got to put on the brave face, you got to put on the mask, because if you don't, it literally threatens your access to survival, to keeping a roof over your head, to healthcare. Because we're following this theme too of how long have you not been paid in such a way that keeps up with the economy that you could build up savings to the point where you wouldn't have to tolerate abuse. It's coercion. It's extortion, exploitation. And I know a lot of those are like they're legal terms and they have a certain degree of scrutiny to actually meet those. But I'm talking like functionally, because I don't actually believe our leaders are as out of touch as they present themselves to be. If they are, they should not be in leadership. Just saying. And we have every right in employment, politics, whatever the case may be, to take that person to task and demand better. Because they're probably demanding something of you in the work scenario, that you produce, that you are productive. Where's my side of the deal? Like not getting discriminated against at work. And it's very difficult to combat because of how all these, like, the larger organizations are structured. It leaves a lot of opportunity for enabling triangulation, manipulation, all those things. And it's readily available information. That, like, that's one of the things that grinds my gears. When stuff like this comes up, it's like the first time they've ever heard of this happening. Oh my gosh. How could we have known that discrimination and bullying wreaks havoc on one's psyche and well-being and finances and so on and so forth? Meanwhile, you had to take a training to help you understand that these things occur, and now they're playing dumb? Like, you wrote the training you made me take that tells me that this is what happens to people when they get bullied at work. One of these things is not like the other, and it's called gaslighting. So I wonder if that might be what's going on here. Because a witch is notoriously difficult to control. And many measures, many lengths will be gone to smear, to control, to trash, to dodge accountability. Because they're cowards. The majority of people involved in those situations are cowards. They're spineless. Because think of how many people are talking behind this witch's back. They're not saying anything to her face. This is all in the background, which is very, very telling. That should be the indicator that, like, oh, this is all behind the scenes, where there's no possible way she could have defended herself. Yeah, something's up. These big organizations will act like they've never heard of an organizational psych degree. Like, as soon as accountability is on the table, as soon as the rubber hits the road, like, oh, sorry, I'm incompetent, but I get to be in charge of things. Nope, actually. The flames, transformation, and that plopped out sideways. So maybe this is the in progress. This transformation is what's leading to the road back. And I suspect, given that it's an anti-hero's journey, you won't be returning to the same ordinary world that we left with Pisces, that Pisces became disillusioned with. You'll be going to something new. So the flames, transformation. What about this? And we are also in eclipse purgatory right now. Kind of a weird vibe. Maybe that's part of the pending transformation. It's like the stars must align, the omen must come to be for the prophecy to be fulfilled. This is promising. There's the Saturn card. Here we go. The end of a tough cycle approaches. Full moon in Capricorn. And then show the world the real you. Full moon in Aquarius. So more of that full moon energy, which dominated these cards. And these, both of these have that water undercurrent, because Capricorn is like earth water and Aquarius is like air water. So layers to it. Something important about Pisces? Maybe? A lot of emphasis on Pisces. And it's a very transformative sign, especially the legend behind the constellation with Aphrodite and Eros fleeing Typhon. So what? It's giving me balance. And I am seeing on the dice faces, they're facing me, Libra and the 7th house. Balance, scales. The Scythe, transformation. This is like the death card, the Scythe rune. A lot of emphasis on that. So it's like not, because I'm a Pisces sun, so I think of that in the authentic self, capital S self area of the psyche. And actually, Aquarius rising and Capricorn moon. So my sun sign is that authentic self. The Aquarius, my rising sign, is the persona. That's the foremost traits, outwardly traits, that people encounter first, that they notice first. Particularly the earlier years of your life, I feel like, and I've heard definitely, you spend more time in that rising sign, and then as you get older and you individuate, you go into your sun sign more. And then your moon sign is your emotional body, how you handle, manage, experience emotions. So mine are very Saturnian. Can be very intellectual when it comes to emotions, and that's also a form of dissociation. Can be. It is for me, for sure. So what about this transformation? And it can be a helpful tool, too. Because I feel like that intellectualizing of my emotions, my experiences and such, helps me build some distance between the actual active experiencing of the emotion, and lets me get a break from it, let my nervous system cool off. How many? 3? See that 5 of Cups in reverse? It's promising. And the Empress in reverse, and then Strength upright. Interesting. So a relief of grief. Accepting help. It's the only one I can read on that one. Empress in reverse is heavy energy. It's bringing me back to this Queen of Wands in reverse, because the Empress is all 4 queens culminated as one. Same is true for the Emperor and the Kings. And so in reverse, that's like all 4 queens in their shadow. The Empress in reverse is Cersei Lannister. Intense, powerful, manipulative, consumes as opposed to produces. As I'm seeing the infertility on there. Neglect. Insecurity. I can never remember what falta means. And then strength. The strength to, hello my precious. Right as the cat card comes up. You have good timing. The strength to get through this transformation. Because it seems pretty hefty. Somebody trying to keep you from individuating. And are they treating you differently, like to that end? That's torment. That's like torture. Keeping someone in invisible chains, not letting them be who they are. That I was just watching something earlier about Marilyn Monroe. The part of her story that we never hear, that she was like involuntarily committed like a year before her untimely passing. And she wrote about her experience in there about feeling like it was a crime she didn't commit. And, you know, living with PTSD, I've had my own grippy sock hotel visits. And it's more traumatizing than it was helpful. I understand and appreciate the necessity for that. And the difficulty of, well, if this is not what you're going to, if you're not going to contain people while they are having a crisis, how do you help them? It's a difficult question. But you just don't hear about that full breadth of her experience. She gets reduced to this seductress, drug addict, meanwhile not mentioning the very extremely difficult experience she had with a violently misogynistic industry. And I don't know, it felt like help wasn't really the concern. It was that I behaved properly. That was the problem. It weren't actually getting down to the root of the trauma that I was experiencing and all those memories coming forward all at the same time. And I had much more effective experiences with therapy and support group. That validation, the empathy, and those are what got me through my own ongoing, ever-going transformation of self and experience and understanding of trauma and how to live with it, how to create a symbiosis with it, because it's part of my story now. And there seems to be this kind of expectation of like, oh, you go into treatment and your trauma will be gone in 6 to 8 weeks. That's for broken ankles, not for psyches. And it's just, it's not that we couldn't create structures that are truly supportive and healing for these situations. The problem is that we aren't. And actually, I think Mom Donnie is a good example, a good metaphor or analogy for this, because I'm seeing something start to float around because we're getting past the honeymoon period and starting to like think a little more critically and such, that he's supposed to be the expectation, not the exception. All this fervor, all this excitement around him, it's because he's doing his job. It's so unique and rare, and it's not supposed to be. Because we're all getting strips taken off of our back by way of taxes, and we're not getting the return. And that takes a lot of strength to know that you are in a transformative stage that, for right now, is harmful. And you have to tolerate it in order to break out of that chrysalis and spread your wings, let them dry out, and fly away. And I mean, from caterpillar to butterfly, that is a remarkably violent process. So I wonder if there's just a mixed bag of things, because this Empress in reverse, all the suits in their shadow expression, this would be like someone coming at you on all levels because you have health issues. Who doesn't? We all, those of us who are present, lived through the pandemic. And what about how that impacted your emotions? Because there were no breaks. There were no breaks for the workers. We just kept going. During it, after it, ongoing. That's an incredible amount of stress that we haven't got sufficient relief for. But yet more is demanded. It's just like everybody moved on, which I think is pretty triggering for anybody who's lived through like a dysfunctional environment where, you know, you have those like knockdown, drag out fights, and then the next day people act like nothing happened. Oh no. See, I feel like I get labeled as like an instigator in those instances because I'm not going to let that go. If we had a yelling match about the way I'm getting treated, there's something that needs to be resolved. On both sides, on one side, because I don't do that whole, well, it takes two to tango. That's for peers. That's for people on the same level when there's not a power difference. And if you're dealing with anything that has any level of variance between parties, there's going to be a power difference. You can sift through the sand to find that. So I think this reward stage is actually going to be one of the more challenging ones in our anti-hero's journey, because it's this culmination of all this work, this transformation, this somebody having a problem, again with the Aquarian energy, with your individual expression, when really you're the harvest, you're the star. It's like being trapped in a cage that's too small and they're not filling up the bowl, and then they're mad that you're barking, that you're whining, that you're trying to get out. It's abuse. And unfortunately, because of the way things are structured, you might have to tolerate environments like this while you transform, so that you can escape the road back onto a different ordinary world. Nobody said the hero's journey was going to be easy. It'd be nice if there were some like road markers sometimes. Oh man, there's so many. So maybe lots of music helps me a lot. So we've got The Gray, Bad Omens, and Clint Eastwood, Gorillas. This was a big song when I was younger, Gorillas. I remember when that came out. They were so unique. And then The Gray, this is the be careful what you wish for song. Got all I wanted and it wasn't enough. All I wanted was more. I'm trying to remember the lyrics for Clint Eastwood, but maybe that's just referencing that Six of Cups card. So be careful of someone or something coming up from the past that, do you still want that? Just sit with it, you know? If anybody is asking you to make a decision that they're not letting you sit on, sleep on, red flag. Red flag, marinara flags abound. Because when it comes to any sort of, I don't know, legal decision, if you are going for a promotion, deciding if you want to pair off with somebody, you have time to think about it. None of anything that I listed off is an emergency. It's a common, like, trying to speed up the timeline, like a false sense of urgency, common manipulation tactic, like that used car salesman. So it's like wanting something so bad, maybe even doing a manifestation ritual around it, or 11/11 just came to mind, like making a wish however long ago, and a bunch of time passes and then it comes up and now you don't want it anymore. I wonder if it's a person referencing this pairing, somebody who thought that you'd just be sitting on the shelf for them, which, gross. Who do you think you are? But it'd be something like that, like the thing that you wished for with your whole mind, body, soul at one point finally comes to fruition, and you're like, nah, I'm good. Transformation's complete. And the next stage is the road back home. So, overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.